From an undisclosed location in North America, you are watching Card to Card. In this episode, this is one of these episodes where I'm not super excited to do because these episodes freak me out. This episode's about the Hag of Detroit. Now, this is not just some crazy old lady that goes to Lions games or Tigers games. This is a very scary story, way scarier than I thought. And this artwork here is very well done by Poncho. This is a big box card, not even a first edition, from the Seance set. So, I will say, if you're a little bit squeamish about scary stuff, this isn't going to be a very good episode of Card to Card, because the story of this Hag of Detroit is pretty scary. So, of course, this story happened in Detroit, Michigan, and it happened at a house. We even have the exact address, and I think we get to see this actual house later on in this video. It's at 5508 Martin Street in Detroit. And if you really want to pin it down, this story takes place in the small back bedroom of this small American home. So, and it's funny, the family that lives there is called the Adams family. William Adams and his wife Lillian, and they have some kids. Well, they moved into this home, I think it was like the late 50s or early 60s, and noticed very frightening things were occurring in that tiny back bedroom. And this room was also kind of set away from the other rooms of the house, and William Adams would often sleep in there because he worked like the late shift, which that's the same type of shift I work. Like kind of like a second shift, you get off at midnight, or if you have to work late, 10-hour days, I sometimes get off at 2 in the morning. But this was at the Cadillac plant there in Detroit. And so if you worked the late shift, he would go to this back bedroom to sleep so he didn't disturb the family coming in that late. And he would have the most horrible nightmares you can imagine. And he said they were so real that he would just wake up screaming in bed. So very creepy. And then once he started going back to sleeping in the master bedroom, these awful nightmares ceased. Well, they kind of didn't associate the nightmares with the room. But next in 1962, Grandma came to visit, and they had her stay in the creepy back bedroom. And the next morning, Grandma was pale and shaken, and she said there were terrible sounds, and it sounded like someone was trying to break in all night. And Grandma cut short her visit and returned home. So maybe this was some devious plan by Mr. Adams to get Grandma out of the house quicker. It doesn't say. Now, the Adams thought at this point there must be something really bad about that room. And they also noticed that none of the children, they all avoided going anywhere close to that room. The family dog wouldn't go back there. So they kind of suspected there's something going on back there. So, now, next, Sherrill Patterson. It sounds like a girl, but this is a guy. He was a family friend. He came to visit, and this is kind of a weird, but the Adams, the parents, they decided that they were not going to tell Mr. Patterson anything about the room, and they wanted to test that room, the ultimate test, because he was like a very logical thinking person, and didn't seem like he would believe in that type of stuff. So they had him sleep in that room, and they never mentioned anything to him. And Mr. Patterson said that he was only laying on the bed for a few minutes when he felt something turn him over, and he looked up and he saw this. He saw this standing outside the bedroom door, and we have an artist rendition of what he saw. Guys, viewer discretion is definitely advised, because this is what Cheryl Patterson saw when he looked. An artist rendition. Just freaky. Anyway, as you can imagine, Mr. Patterson got the heck out of there, running and screaming, towards that thing. And he was running out of the room. And when he reached where this thing was, I guess he was running towards it, because it says when he reached where this thing was, that all the house lights went out, and he was then like having to stumble around in the dark, and then the lights came back on. He got out of there. Mrs. Adams was there in the kitchen, and he was explaining what he saw, and they noticed this terrible wailing sound coming from back there, and an awful stench. That it was such a terrible smell that made them sick. Well, Mr. Adams, he decided once and for all, he was going to give the ultimate test. He was going to spend one last night in that room to prove, is there something happening here or not? So he goes and spends one last night there. He could just like sense that someone was in the room, turned his head and saw this thing, this hag of Detroit, just standing there hissing, and he also smelled this awful stench smell. So after that, the family moved. I don't know if anybody lives in the home now, but we actually have a video. This is a pretty short video, but this is the actual house where this happened. We don't get to see inside, but this is from outside. This is 5508 Martin Street in Detroit, Michigan, where this actually happened. Let's go ahead and roll it. Okay, yeah, just seeing that is very creepy to me. So this is the part of the video where we take a closer look at the card. I mean, this artwork is just outstanding. Very scary. Poncho did a great job. The flavor text, especially on these, I don't know if you guys can read the flavor text. I can barely see it. It says, this horrible hag enters through the dreams of her victims and leaves them with terrible visions of dread. Her mutilated corpse cracks and twists as she possesses back rooms. Okay, so definitely we're talking about the same thing here. Date of birth 1960, so it was 1960 that they bought this house in Detroit, Michigan. So definitely this card was based on this story. I don't really consider these cryptids. This is more like just a scary story. So definitely deserves to be in the seance set, though, because that is a creepy set. And what do you guys think? Is this just a big old made up story? But man, there's so much details about the family who went there. They very much said what happened. We even know what house it was, what room it was in. So it seems like something was going on there. I just don't see all these people making up this story. Even Grandma had to get the heck out of that place. What do you guys think? Is this just a crazy story, just made up for publicity, or was there something really crazy going on there? Anyway, if you're in Detroit, Michigan, and you're going down Martin Street, and you come up to 5508 Martin Street, you had better keep your eyes out.